This program is brought to you by Bid Select, the Neely School of Business at TCU, Community Trust Bank, and Medical City. Welcome to Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women. Now, here's your host, Shivaun Palmer.
Hey, welcome back everybody to Platforms, a life-lifting news program for women. We've had a fantastic conversation today with Retta Miller. She's a partner with the Dallas office of Jackson Walker, and she heads up the trial section for the firm. Covered a lot of great areas this afternoon. Retta, let's talk about retention of women in law firms across the country. I know that the numbers coming out of law school, what are the percentages now? Are there more women going through law school?
I think generally it's at least 50-50.
It's 50-50, okay.
Or maybe even slightly tipped in favor of women at this point in law school.
You know, one of the things I know there's some challenges is a lot of women, you know, put in all that time in law school and are phenomenal contributors to their firms, and they want to take some time to have families. So how is Jackson Walker kind of addressing that issue so that you keep key talent, you know, once they have to take some time to raise the family and come back into the firm?
Well, retention of women has always been a huge issue in law firms, and one of the things that we've been able to do, and our mentoring program, JW Square, really worked to identify ways to do it, but we've put in place an alternative work schedule opportunity for women with children where after you have children, if you want to, for a period of time, step back, work a fewer number of hours while your children are small, those kinds of things. We have that opportunity for women, and it's an opportunity for associate women, it's an opportunity for women who are partners, and for the first time this year we actually made a woman partner while she was on an alternative work schedule.
Oh, wow.
And so there's a real commitment by the firm to be sure that we support women as they do try to raise their families, because you invest a huge commitment in terms of time and training with young lawyers, and if you don't continue to support them, you're going to lose fabulous talent. So we've really worked at trying to be creative and find ways that we can support women in that regard. And we've come up with a number of interesting kind of things to support women, not only after they have children, but the whole concept of being pregnant and working and those kinds of things. And we have mentors for people while they're pregnant and how to work through the process of maternity leave, and, you know, do you want to come back full time, and if so, how do you get back into it? And we've tried to be sure that when people come back from maternity leave that there is work waiting for them.
That's kind of a seamless transition.
Because one of the issues frequently can be for somebody, if you're out for 3 months or for 6 months, you come back,
the train's kind of left the station a little bit.
It's hard to get re-engaged, and so we've really worked at, and we just had a young woman in the trial section here in Dallas come off of maternity leave, and you know, the day Amy came back to work, there was work sitting on her desk,
ready to go,
new cases to be involved in, new opportunities, that kind of thing, and she has just hit the ground running. And so I think knowing that when you get back, you're going to be busy and you're not worrying, takes one level of worry off, because that transition back is hard enough already. So we're really trying to think of a lot of different kinds of things that we can do to make the transition easier for women, and then to support women while they have families at home.
One thing I've always been curious about, going back to, you know, trials, when jury selection, that is very, very critical, obviously, and there was a lot of controversy in some high-profile cases in the last 10 to 15 years in this country. So as an attorney, a litigator, how do you go through that jury process to get the right jury, you know, hopefully lined up for that particular case?
Well, you have to think about it a lot, because you need to think first about, okay, what is the ideal juror for my case in terms of the positions that I'm putting forth in terms of the jury? What am I looking for? What life experiences, what predispositions, you know, not only are going to be helpful to me, that are going to be adverse to me. Sometimes you have jury questionnaires that you can use to begin to solicit some of those attitudes beforehand and the information beforehand that'll tell you about people's life experiences. Sometimes in state court, typically you get to do the voir dire and can ask the questions. In federal court, at times the federal judge will do the voir dire, and there'll be very limited voir dire by the attorney, and then it becomes much more of a challenge in terms of trying
you said voir dire. What does that mean?
Well, it's a process where you question the jurors. You get to ask the jurors questions before you make your selection. Typically what happens is either the judge or the lawyers or both ask the jurors questions, and you can elicit information about their experience. I mean, maybe you have a breach of contract case, you ask if they ever had a case where somebody agreed to do something for them and didn't do it.
Right.
I mean, you try to think about how can I take this case and put it into simple analogies
Right.
that will help determine if people have an attitude that's going to make them either be for me or be against me as they hear the evidence, those kinds of things.
And then it goes back to your gut feeling you talked about earlier, about
Right.
making the right decision.
Right decisions. And then each side typically gets a limited number of strikes, and then you exercise those strikes. And it's all within the parameters in terms of certain limitations in terms of what you can or can't
Right.
strike people from a jury for and those kinds of things. So
Okay.
you have to abide by the case law in those areas as well.
Have you, I know that you've done a lot of pro bono work, and there's so many kids out there, people that don't have the wherewithal to hire, some of the top attorney talents. So do you feel like these people sometimes are misrepresented, or how do you overcome that in terms of an economic standpoint when people don't have equal representation?
Well, I mean, one of the things that, and I think it's a fabulous program, is the Dallas Bar has the volunteer attorney program, where most of the major law firms in town, including Jackson Walker, participate, and we provide lawyers to do pro bono work through the legal aid program. And so we use it a lot as a way for young lawyers to get some trial experience and some client experience and those kinds of things.
Looking in the next 4 to 5 years, I mean, your area of the law, do you see anything with the recent legislation? What is your feeling about state versus federal in terms of the laws and where the two are supposed to meet when they're not? I mean, what is your opinion on when those two kind of meshed together? Are there issues that states definitely need to just be focusing on versus having the federal government infringing? I know that there's a lot of people out there these days that are getting very uncomfortable about the lines being blurred a little bit.
Well, that's a difficult question, and a question that would take a whole day to answer.
Yeah.
In that regard.
Yeah.
I think there are certain places, obviously there are certain places where we've only made progress because there have been federal laws that have encouraged states and people to move in the right direction. So I don't think that you can ever eliminate the need for in certain places. But on the other hand, I think you also want to preserve states' rights to do certain things. It's a very fine balancing act, I think, and one that...
Well, we'll have to have a follow-up conversation on that, because that would be a whole show as well, absolutely. Retta, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. For people who want to get more information, to contact you here at Jackson Walker, they go to your website, which is one of the simplest websites, by the way, folks, right? JW.com?
That's correct.
That's terrific. Well, I look forward to having you back. I'd love to talk about some subsequent topics here in the next few weeks.
Great. Thanks, nice to be here.
Thank you. Folks, this is Shivaun Palmer with Platforms, the life-lifting news program for women. We'll be back in a moment.
Jackson Walker is a Texas-based law firm with more than 300 attorneys in Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, San Angelo, and San Antonio. The firm regularly represents clients in such areas as corporate and securities, litigation, intellectual property, healthcare, energy, labor and employment, legislative and regulatory, real estate, and international law. The firm's corporate clients include Fortune 500 companies, multinational corporations, major financial institutions, and a wide range of publicly traded corporations and closely held businesses. For more info, go to www.jw.com. Jackson Walker, Texas-based, global reach.